Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the seventh session of Omics Logic Data Science. Today, we'll be talking about unsupervised machine learning. And before I pass it on to Dr. Harpreet, I wanted to add that yesterday's recording will be available in two parts. You must have received an email from me some time ago where, due to a technical error, the recording was split in two. So, if you have any problems with that, please let us know. All of them are posted in the forum as well. And to make sure that there is no break in the recording, we'll be recording in the cloud today. So, I hope that there is no more problem. So, over to you, Dr. Harpreet.
Thank you, Bitsa. Hello, everyone. I welcome you all to the seventh session of this 1 month data science program. So, how's everyone doing? So, let's move. And that's great, Sanchita, Neha, Kavya. So, let's talk about your progress. I think every one of you are doing great and going through different courses and running different pipelines as well as going through these code omics logic platform. Then some of you are performing quite well, and it's really interesting to see. And I would like to congratulate who have already completed the transcriptomics 2 course and are heading towards transcriptomics 3. So now let's talk about today's session. In today's session, we will talk about unsupervised machine learning. Here, first we will learn about principal component analysis. Then we will demonstrate how we can perform principal component analysis using T-Banfo platform. Next, we will look at the behind the scenes to perform PCA in the R. Then we will get an overview of hierarchical clustering and k-mean clustering. Then we will also demonstrate how we can perform these clustering using T-Banfo platform. And at last, we will also perform hands-on session to execute clustering in R. So before going ahead, let us review what we have learned in our last session. We started the last session with the demonstration of differential gene expression analysis using DSEQ on T-Banfo platform. Then we understand the concept of regression and its formula, and we see how a dependent variable is dependent on an independent variable. Next, we also understand about the concept of factor regression analysis, where we observe how this factor regression analysis uses the concept of regression to understand the differences and to analyze when there are multiple factors in the data. Next we also learned about machine learning, and we also understand why we need machine learning and RNA-seq data. Next, we also understand about what are different types of machine learning that include unsupervised and supervised machine learning. Then we get an overview of unsupervised machine learning. In the later part of the session, we got an overview on the supervised machine learning. Next, we learned about what are the different types or the categories of the supervised machine learning, that is classification and the regression. Then we also look into some of the examples that are used for supervised machine learning. At last, we learned about the concept and understand about the training and the test data set. So before heading into today's session, let me ask few questions and see what you have understand so far. So the first question, DSEC compute following parameters. Option A, P adjusted value. Option B, P value. Option 3, log to fold chains. And D, all of above. So post your answer in the chat. Samukta saying D. Sureshi, all of above. So anyone else? So Sindhu is also saying D. So absolutely correct, all of you. So it's a D, that is all of above. So it compute P adjusted value as well as P value as well as log to full chains. So then the next question, what statistical approach is utilized by factor regression analysis? Option A, factorization statistics. B, t-statistics. C, chi-square statistics. D, regression statistics. Samukta saying B. So what statistical approach is utilized by factor regression analysis? So I think every one of you is actually incorrect. So it's regression statistics. So it's not t-test, it's regression statistics where we have considered multiple factors together. Then the third question, which of following represent task in factor analysis in a correct order? So option A, first we upload files, then define factors and label, select factor analysis from within machine learning and run the pipeline. Then select all output files, open out in Excel, sort the results in the Excel or a visualization tool and analyzing using online tools such as Debit. B, you upload files, then select a factor analysis from within machine learning, then define factors and labels name and run the pipeline. And then you select all output files, open output set files in Excel and sort the values. And then you analyze using online tools such as Debit. C, you first select factor analysis from within machine learning, define factors and the labels, upload files and its name, run the pipeline, then select output files and open up in Excel, sort the values and results in the Excel, and finally analyze using in online tools such as JVid. And the option D, you select factor analysis from within machine learning, upload files, define factors and labels, and run the pipeline, select output files, open out and analyze using online tools such as JBean and sort the result in Excel by a Shiny app. So Renuka, Pamita, Sindhu, Neha is saying Suresh. Yeah. So every one of you absolutely correct. Sorry, yeah, it was C actually. So it was just a by mistake. Then question 4. What were the factors we have analyzed in hands-on practice in the factor regression analysis? A, triple negative and estrogen receptor. B, a thymic nude and severe combined skit. And C, triple negative estrogen receptor. Then a thymic nude and skit. D, breast cancer subtype and PDX models. Sindhu saying C. Madhuri, Sanchita D. So Sanchita, excellent, you are correct. It was breast cancer subtype, that's ER positive and triple negative. Then we have a PDX model, that is athymic nude, athymic and nude mice. So it was not skid mice. It is not a skid mice who is confused with it was NOD and athymic nude. So the option D is correct. So the next question, labels in the data are vital for following methods. Unsupervised machine learning, B, random forest, C, supervised machine learning, D, more than two options are correct. More than one options are correct, sorry. D. So yeah, every one of you is correct. It's more than, that is supervised machine learning, which also include random forest, and D, because both the options are correct, so more than two options are correct. So now let's begin with today's session. So let's remind about what we talk in our last session, that is unsupervised machine learning. So in the unsupervised machine learning, we have a data set or the source data with samples that have different shapes. In our case, these combination of the shapes could be a different cell types. So to understand the content of this source data, what we can do, we can use some kind of machine learning algorithm where we can define the relationship by understanding the characteristics of within the data points within the data set. Now, if we put this information in a formula, and the formula will able to separate data into the different groups or the clusters. So the but are different examples or the different algorithms for unsupervised machine learning is the hierarchical clustering, principal component analysis, or the k-mean clustering. So now first let's understand what is dimensionality. So what does it mean? So if we look at our data table of gene expression, we will see it has thousands of the rows and several columns for the samples. So if we take first two genes and we can visualize these samples, sorry. So we can visualize these samples in two-dimensional space by taking the expression values of gene 1 and gene 2 across all the 8 samples. So here genes are the dimensions and samples are the objects. So to study how gene expression can be used to measure variability between the samples, we can use a dimensionality reduction. As we know, in our gene expression table, there are thousands of the genes. So one of the methods that is used for can be used for the principal component analysis as a dimensionality reduction approach. So this analysis method will help us to visualize the multi-dimensional data set in a scatter plot and see what gene expression patterns show about our data. So beside, if apart from the two genes, if we have, suppose we can add a 3 gene and we can visualize our data in the 3-dimensional. So what we will do, so when we have thousands of a sample, thousands of the features like or thousands of the genes as in our gene expression table. So whether we can visualize that data into the 2-dimension or the 3-dimension, so the answer is not. So you cannot visualize, you cannot use this information from the multi-dimension or the multi-variables to visualize or to understand your data. So what would be the better approach? So it would be you reduce all the dimensions that are thousands of or thousands or hundreds are features, so into the few dimensions. That is also called dimensionality reduction. So one of that method is principal component analysis. Now let's try to understand how this PCA works. So if you use the approach of the principal component analysis, we are looking for a plane or the vector in the multi-dimensional space that can define or see or explain the variance in our data in the best possible way. So suppose here we have a data with a low variance, that here we can see the samples are close to each other. So then we have a data that with the high variance. So here we can see, so this variance can be defined with the x-axis and the y-axis, but you could draw a line with the original space that shows maximum variance. So this vector through the multidimensional space maximize the variance of the data, or it is also called principal components. As we can see in this figure, we have two principal components, PC1 and PC2. So in the so we can in the principal component, you can finally, with the help of the components, that is PC1 and PC2, it will try to explain the maximum variance. Usually in the principal component analysis, the first component always explain the maximum variance in the data. So then the following components like PC2 or till the PCN, so it will explain the variance. So the variance explained by each of these factors start reducing as we go from first component till the last component. So this technique is called principal component analysis, and it can be very helpful at specifically when you start any kind of analysis. So at the initial phase, you always go through this principal component analysis. So we can better understand by performing principal component analysis. So let us first let me demonstrate it, and then you can understand it in a better way. So let's go over the platform.
Dr. Harpreet, we cannot see your screen and
Okay,
your.
okay. Let me just again share it. Sorry, I think I just by mistake. So let me share one link with you. So let's perform principal component analysis. Just take this. So we have a gene expression data having FPKM values. So today what we will do, so first of all, we will perform as this is FPKM values, whenever you want to perform any kind of machine learning, you always transform your raw FPKM values into the normalized value. So in our demonstration, first we will perform the quantile normalization of our data, then we will perform the PCA. So if every one of you on this interface of T-Bioinfo platform, just let me know so that we can proceed for the PC analysis. Meanwhile, you just also download this file that I have provided you. Okay, that's great. So if you look at this data, so here we have a thousands of the genes and we have some only few samples. So aim of the PCA is to how we can reduce these large number of features into the small dimensions. So that's where PCA plays an important role. So if you are on this platform, So under the utility section, so here under the data mining option, the third option that is here, that is utility option. So if you go to this utility option, so every one of you with me. So meanwhile, let me save this file as well. So, okay. So here is started with the uploading our data file. So let's upload our data set. So it will show the progress of your file upload. So once your file get uploaded, now let's go to the continue. So let's start with the start. So with the start, sorry, then the OK. So then it will ask you the different, it will, here we will get the different options. So first of all, before performing PCA, our data must be normalized. So let's do the quantile normalization. So here, before, even when many of you performing quantile normalization, the step that most of you missed, that is whether you want to transform table into the log scale transformation or not. So many of you when are attempting this assignment, even for the quantile normalization, so you cannot directly apply your quantile normalization on FPKM value. So first of all, you need to convert your table that is into the log scale transformation. So here we are converting, as I know that in my data, it is the FPKM table. So here we have FPKM value. So first of all, we convert those FPKM value into the log normalized values. Then here the threshold that we are selecting, once it converted into the log scale transformation, so our data comes in a range that is like it will come into the range like 1 to 20 max. So I'm here selecting a threshold 5. So then I'm just saving it. So it will execute quantile normalization. So then we want to perform the PCA. So here we are not selecting any filters. So you can select it accordingly. So here as well, if you have not transformed your values initially, here you can ask, as I have already transformed our value into the log scale. So I am selecting no. So I'm taking all the options as by default. So let's, so it then it asks you the method, whether which method that you want to use. So least square solving SVD. So we are selecting SVD2, and then it is asking whether you want to standardize your table rows before implying PCA and standardize table columns before PCA. But here we are taking all the default options and saving it. So anyone, are you with me, every one of you? Now let's run this pipeline. So what PC is doing, actually it reducing, as it's a dimensionality reduction approach. So it reducing all the thousands of the genes into the few dimensions. It could be, you can always define your dimensions as well. So that let's do one more thing. So we can also create other pipeline. Meanwhile, my just pipelines are loading. So let me show, we have one more option as well. So that was direct PCA, and the other option that we can use, that is PCAR. With the PCAR library, you can also perform that. So by default, it doesn't give us. So the other method we can also perform PCA from, let me go to the start area of analysis. So if we go to the area of analysis, here is an unsupervised analysis method. So if you upload your file from here, so I just want to show you that how we can, I'm here using already normalized file. So I'm not using the same file here. So if you have already the quantile normalized data with you, so then you can also explore the other PCA library. So I want to show you this result as well. So how it is different from the initial our PCA results. So let's go over PCAR library. So the number of PCA component, here I'm just selecting maximum 2 components. So it is PCAR. So I just want to show you the differences. So I'm just running this pipeline as well. So meanwhile, so just let me know you have run PCA, normal PCA pipeline. So I just want to compare I want to show you something here. So, okay, so our PCA already get completed. So how many of you able to run your PCA pipeline, initial PCA pipeline, not PCAR, that is quantile normalized followed by PCA. So how many of you already run this pipeline? And your line, whether pipeline completed? Okay, Samukta. So anyone else? Suresh, okay. So if your pipeline get completed, now let's go to the output files. So here we will get this results. We will get these 2 results, that is final cell line RNA expression, FPKM value with PCA result. So let's download these results. So other one is actually normalized value. So from here, as in this pipeline, we have performed 2 steps. First is quantile normalization. So we have an output of data with the quantile normalization. Here it's showing the threshold 5 normalized dot text. So it is your quantile normalized file. So the other result, as after the quantile normalization, we run the PCA. So then we have this output with the PCA. So now let's go to this. This is normalized data. So I'm going to the other one, that is the PCA. So let's paste it here. So if you let me just show you. me add it here. Okay, so with this table, what we get, in the results, what we have. So if you look at this particular table here, in the first column, we have the sample, that is variables. So then we have, it's like it's giving us some value like 78%, 77%, then 4%, 3 point something. So if we look at, these are actually the principal components. So as I have already told you that the first component in the PCA actually explains the maximum variance in the data. So it is PC1. So then it's PC2, then it is PC3. So as we move from PC1 to till PCN, the last component, our component always explain minimum variance. So then we have PC4, then we have PC5, PC6, PC7 till the last. So I can ignore it. So meanwhile, it would be PC10. So here we got the maximum components, 10 components. So this is how it works. So with every one of you able to run this pipeline and get this result. So if you got these results, just paste in Excel so that we can show you how we can eventually visualize our data in the form of scatter plots. So now let's plot a scatter plot. So insert, go to the scatter plot. So scatter plot always draw between two components. So here I have selected the first component and the third component. So first and the second component. So here we can ignore it. Oh, sorry. Okay. Let me just. Okay. Let me do it again. Okay. So have you pasted your result in Excel? So now my screen is visible. Okay. So every one of you, the results that we got specifically for the PC, that is principal component analysis, here in that case, we have obtained two of the files. One is containing normalized value, the other one is containing this principal components. So here, if you look at this data, so the first column, it contains the same samples that we have provided in our data. So then it contains the different components with some percentage value. So these percentage value indicate the components. So the first component, which explain maximum variance in the data, that is here, if we look at here, we have nearly 78%. So the 78% is actually indicate it is our first component. As I have already told you, in the principal component analysis, the first component explain maximum variance, followed by the variance is start reducing as the V comes from first component till the last component. So you can observe the same pattern that I have explained you in our data. So every one of you able to got this. So now how we can visualize our data in the form of scatter plot. So in the scatter plot, to draw a scatter plot in Excel, so what you have to do, you have to select two components. Suppose here I am selecting first two components which explain maximum variance. So if we select this component and then go to the insert and then just start plot a scatter plot. So you will get something like this. So next we will make some changes. So I'm just not interested in these grid lines. So I have deleted all the grid line. So now we have this kind of plot. So every one of you with me till this. so that we can proceed how we can finally modify and understand what are these dots. So the one, again, next point I would like to explain you. On a scatter plot, these x-axis and the y-axis represent the features or the genes, while these dots, so it indicates the samples. So every one of you with me. So now let's define what are these x-axis. As first of all, we just define, like we just plot a scatter plot between the data points. We don't know what are these data points. So if you click on this, then you can select the data. Now let's edit actually what this x-axis and the y-axis is representing. So let's edit our, first let's add it. Okay, so in the series 1, what we have? So if you look at this, we have a PC1. So here the PC1 is our x-axis. So I am taking the non-malignant sample in the PC1 as x-axis. Then we are, series name, sorry, first let's give its name. So we have non-malignant. So here, what is our x-axis? This is our x-axis. So we can define. Similarly, what is our y-axis? As I have already told you, genes or the principal components that we have obtained are actually our x-axis and the y-axis. So for this particular data points or objects, that is data sample, non-malignant, what is our x-axis? PC, here we are taking axis PC1 as x-axis, while what is our y-axis? Let's select the other component. Sorry. Let me just define again the x-axis. So this is our x-axis. Then what is our y-axis? This is our, let me do it again. I just, okay. So now I can do it. Okay, so let's define. First, go to, if you click on this scatter plot, then just select the data. So as here we are seeing only a series data. So let's add a different label. So the series name here, we are interested here. We have two kind of samples, that is non-malignant. So let's start with non-malignant. So then we have x-axis. So for this non-malignant, what is our axis? So PC1 is our x-axis. You done this. Then select the y-axis. So our y-axis is PC. This is PC2. So this is our y-axis. So then define this one. Let's edit it. And the series 1, here the Claudin low samples are our the other type of the sample that we have in our data, that is Claudin low. So we defining the series name another. So here what is our x-axis? So it is Claudin low. So here PC1 is as our x-axis. So we selecting these samples with the Claudin low having PC component. Then what is our Claudin low for the PC2 component as y-axis. So now if you look at this data, is this plot, it will clearly define you what components that we are getting. So Claudin low are clustered in a on the one side of this scatter plot, while non-malignant samples are plot on the other side of, so they are clearly separated. But here we can also look at one Claudin low sample is actually the outliers, because it is not clustered, it is not clustered with the our this Claudine-Low sample. So we can even detect how many outliers here and whether these samples can be are producing some other are separated from each other. So that accordingly we can once you have a data, you don't know whether they are different from each other. So PCA is first step where you can visualize your data and understand whether these differences are actually there in data, so that you can proceed for your any kind of analysis. So far, if you have got every one of you able to plot this scatter plot, just let me know how many of you able to plot this scatter plot. So this is how we have, first of all, the PCA from those 1000 gene, we able to obtain only the 10 components, top 10 components. The next, here how we can visualize our data using the simple scatter plot. So if you have facing any problem, just let me know that, so that we can address it right now. How many of you able to plot a scatter plot for the principal component? So no one? So just type yes or no. Okay, Renuka. So anyone else able to plot this scatter plot? Madhuri, that's great. So the purpose of the this PCA is always for any analysis or for any data, when you don't know what are their differences, just the first step you should go for principal component analysis, so that you can visualize whether there are differences or not in the data. So whether you can proceed for any kind of analysis. So based on the PCA, you can do that. So as here we don't know how many classes, or even here I'm defining, already know these classes. Even if you don't have these classes, you can at least visualize whether it is getting clustered into different groups or not. So on PCA, it will scatter, PCA components will scatter all this data. Now apart from the 2D, you can also define, you can take the 3 components. So if you want to plot a three-dimensional plot. So if every one of you able to get this, then we can move ahead with the presentation. So apart from Renuka and Madhuri, who is the other one who able to perform or able to plot scatter plot in R? So let me just, okay. So the other pipeline that I have run, that was PCA-R. So in the PCA, normal PCA, we usually get that plot. So in comparison to what is the difference between PCA-R library, just let me show you. This is not the same data as I already normalized this data. So it automatically produced this particular plot. So that two-dimensional plot that we have drawn ourselves in the scatter plot. So PCA-R will do it for you. So it is, I have taken some other data for this drawing, this PCA-R, to run PCA-R. So it will automatically run your data. So it is defined, it plot your data between PC1 and PC2. So it automatically produce this kind of plot for you. So this is the difference between PCA-R library and PCA. So usually we proceed for the PCA if we have FPKM values, because first of all we want to convert those FPKM values in the form of quantile normalization. Then we want to perform PCA. So with the PCA-R library, you can directly even select your PCA-R. So every one of you able to get this. Now let's see how we can perform PCA in the R. So let's go to the Codomics logic platform. So once you log into this server, just let me know about it. So if every one of you able to log into your Codeomics Logic platform. Now let's see how we can perform this dimensionality reduction or the PCA in the R. So if you go to your data science program in R, so then you will go to the third lesson, that is dimensionality reduction in PCA, as in our similar to our other lessons. So here we in the R first part we always introduce and what we are talking about. So then let's go to it's complete it and let's go to the learn the code. So here you will understand how you can upload your data, and then there is to perform. So let me just show you here. So first we are just loading a library that are required, then we are uploading our data, and then we are just transposing that data using the T command, and then we have a principal component function, that is prcomp. So with the prcomp we can perform principal component analysis. So now let's do it by ourselves. So then we can also provide the colors and all. So let's complete it and let's go to the next step. So every one of you with me at the on Codeomics Logic platform, just let me know about that. So let's do it one by one step, in a one by one step. Just give me a second. So first of all, let's upload a file. So you can take even the same file as well that we have provided you. So then we have to, of course, convert into the log scale transformation and the quantity. So otherwise, we have already provided you the file. So input file. So let's how we load our data. So this is the just path of input file. So let me just provide you again. So I'm providing you the link. You can upload your this file. So let's read it. So data. So the data, how we read the data in R, but command that we use, read dot table. So now let's upload this data, and then we have to define. So here we have a header into true. So here we also defining with the row names dot one, that indicate that our in the first row we have the genes. Then we are defining two more things as well. That is, we are defining string factors. So as here we have a multiple genes, so we are defining that there are not a string factors, then check names, the check dot names will actually don't change your input file. So if you do it, check dot names should be false, so it will not change your names. So now let's check whether we able to obtain this. Whether we able to upload this data. The how we can check our data. So I'm just checking with the dimension whether my file get uploaded or not. So it shows me here the 15 rows are available, means 15 genes are available, and then 52 samples are there. So now let's convert it into the matrix. So then I'm just converting into the matrix. Meanwhile, I just want to show you the file that we have. So if you look at this file that we are using, here we have IDs. So then we have a gene expression table. So in the first row, we have a gene expression values. In the columns, we have the samples. So this file that we are here we are using. So from the second row, so here our data and the second column. So here we want to ignore the first row and the first column. So how we can do that? So as in our data, we have a row. So we starting from the, here we are producing our data from the second row, that is 2, then till the n rows. So here we want to produce a matrix where we want to delete first row as well first column. So we are taking from the second row to the last row and from second column to the last column. So now let's check its dimension matrix dim. Okay. Just let me check what the problem that I'm done something wrong here. Comment it. Just give me a second to find out the problem. So just let me do it again. Data table. Then we are just converting into the matrix. Matrix as dot matrix. Data, here we want to take only the second row and the second column. To n row, then data second and call. Okay, it's working fine now. Then we will transpose it T into the matrix. So okay, so it should work now. So I'm just not defining, I'm just defining this within that. So I have to define it outside of the data. So now let's do it. Okay. So okay. So first of all, just let me repeat it. So first of all, we just uploaded our data. Then we are just next step that we are going to do, that we want to perform this on a data, our the data that we have uploaded. So then we have to define to take these columns. Just let me copy this for you. So here, as the step I'm doing just a wrong initially. So I have to define it from the outside which rows I want to take it. So I am here, I was taking from second row to the n rows. Then I have to define from which object I want to take that data. So then I have to define it within the brackets. So within the parenthesis, we will define. Then from the second column to the last column, again we have to define this. So once we have this, then we can transform our data. So how we can do a transformation, transpose our data in the R. So it is a very simple, with the simple T command, you can transpose your data. So, okay, meanwhile, okay, so how we can check the dimensions? So let's check the dimension with, first check the dimension of the matrix. So then we can also check dimensions of transposed matrix. So it's transpose matrix. So now let's check the dimension for this as well. Dim. With the dim command, we can check the dimensions. Okay, so if I'm doing it for the first for the matrix, so let me comment it for that. So let's check whether it get transposed or not. So in the starting, we have a, okay, so this is how we transpose it. Now with the PRC component. So now let's define the PCA. So with the PRC component, if you just write PRC component and then you are taking your this transpose matrix. So let's transfer it into the object. So in the PCA, with the PRC component, we just take this transpose matrix, then we are making its PCA components. So how we can make PCA components in R? There is a simple command that is PRC component. So if you have, I'm just copying it here, just in case you find any problem. So with the PRC component, we will we can produce the PCA components for transpose matrix. So I have this defined this PRC component in enough object that is called PCA. So the next step is how we can let's see whether it run or not. So even you can check using PCA. So you're showing that your PCA component form. Now let's visualize this by plot. So simple the plot command. So with the plot command, we have PCA. Then we can take that we want to plot x-axis or the y-axis. So x-axis versus y-axis, PCA $by. So this is all showing that finally you have able to plot the PCA component plot within PCA using PCA component X and PCA component Y. So just let me. So this is how your simple plot you can produce. Now you can make a color, define the colors for that. So there is a library that you have to use for that. That is library GG45. So this is the plot that you get after drawing your PCA. So as we want to color it, these components as well. So there is beside the plot you can here as we need to define PCA you must draw with PCA axis and the PCA y axis. So there's the library that is GG45. So with this you need not to even define whether you want to plot with x axis or y axis. What you can do directly PCA auto plot and just PCA, provide your PCA component. So this is how you can plot with the this auto plot. So the auto plot automatically produce the PCA plot between x-axis and y-axis. So otherwise with PRC component, once you have generate your PCA, so with the simple plot function, that is eventually you want to draw PCA $axis, PCA with the in against the y-axis. So you have to define PCA $x and PCA. This is with the simple function that is plot. You can produce a PCA plot. So then if you want to use other library, that will automatically take x-axis and the y-axis. That is library GG45. So with this, how you can plot simple. So any one of you able to produce PCA? Now let's see how we can provide the colors to this. And it's a simple function. So any one of you able to plot this PCA plot in R? So any one of you able to plot PCA in R? So so first of all, what we did here, we just uploaded our data. Once we with the read dot table, then we defined header equal to true, and we have also defined row names equal to 1. Then we just define the string as factor should be false and check dot names should be false. So these are just, let me just copy it. So let me know whether you able to plot this. So we start with this, that first of all we read our data, then we converted that into a matrix. So as PCA plots, automatically these plots don't take a data frame. So first of all we converted into the matrix. So then we transpose our data. So transpose, it will automatically finally your genes into the columns and your samples into the row. With the transpose, we just transposed the data. Then with the PRC component, we just produce PCA components. With PRC comp function, simple function, that is PRC comp, we able to produce PCA components. Then with the plot between x axis and the y axis, we able to produce the PCA plot. So any one of you able to produce PCA plot? Just let me know that. This is a very simple. So the other library that you can also use to produce PCA component, that is just library GG45. So this is how you can simply produce PCA components. PCA plot with R. So the error, but Anirudh, what error it's showing? So sometimes it, if even you are unable to refresh it, sometimes it show error at that time as well. So you just, any one of you able to plot PCA in R. So I have just provided you these steps, that first of all we are just loading our data. So that is we started with the data read dot table. So once we done that, then we just convert it into the matrix. Then we transpose our matrix using a T command, and then PRC comp function, PR comp function, we just able to produce PCA components. Then we take these PCA components and able to produce with the PCA axis and the y axis, we can produce our PCA plot. Then the other library, that is GG45, with you can also use that. So this is the error. It should not be the error, I mean. So let me just, to produce a matrix, let me just again paste the link, or you can paste your link specifically for the matrix. So with this, the sometimes the error, the problem that I am also facing, that is I am just using the wrong, I have just missed the data from the starting. So that's where I was facing this issue. So just make sure you converting your matrix right. And one more thing, whenever you define your names, so I just want to say one more thing. So even don't so complicate, even simple with the matrix command, as dot matrix. Even if you use this as dot matrix and data. So this is also you can produce a matrix. So you need not to define, even you need not to define as matrix, sorry. You need not to define which column that you want to take. So with this command, even you can convert to make you can convert it into the matrix. So this is even a simple. So this is how you can plot your PCA. Then with the color you can define, and you can explore this lesson for even that if you want to explore the different options. So you just go through this lesson. This is here I'm just defining how we can produce a PCA plot with PRC-COM and the other library with the GG45. So I think you can go through yourself through this lesson. Now let's move back to our presentation. So this is how you the PCA, the results that we got. So that we can draw our PCA visualization using scatter plot in Excel, as well as we can use PCA-R library. Then we can also produce PRC, we can also use PRC-COM in the R package. So this is how you can visualize your data for the PCA. Now let's move ahead with today's sessions. So we have already done this. So if you have any questions so far, you can ask your question and post it in the chat before moving ahead in with the clustering. So next we are moving into the clustering. So before moving into the clustering, let's just look at the data set that we are going to use for the demonstrations. So this is a data set taken from a study where researchers tested 90 therapeutic compounds on 70 breast cancer cell lines, and they determined GI 150 concentration for each pair. So in addition, author generated both genomic, that is mutational, and DNA methylation data, as well as the transcriptomics data from all the same samples. So by combining these different two types of molecular data, authors demonstrated a predictive value of molecular signatures, that is gene expression, variant, methylation for the drug resistance. Here we are taking transcriptomics data from this particular study to generate our data set for the breast cancer subtypes. So here we have the different breast cancer subtypes like non-malignant, basal, luminal, and Claudin low, the two of which we have already used, that is Claudin low or non-malignant. So the Claudin low one is one of the most aggressive form of breast cancer subtype. So this is the data set that we are going to use. So now let's move to the clustering. So in the clustering method, the one of the major important method, that is hierarchical clustering. So hierarchical clustering is an algorithm that groups similar object into the groups that is called the clusters. So a hierarchical clustering can be of two types, that is aggluterative or the divisive approach. Now let's understand what is the aggluterative approach. So here, first of all the data points are considered as a indivisible data cluster, data point. So then what this algorithm do, that it goes through all these data points and try to find the similarity between the data points. So in the next step, once it able to find some similarity between closest data points, so then it cluster those data points to make another cluster. So in the next step, it again try to find the similarity between the closest data these clusters and try to cluster them again. So then in the next step, this process continue until you able to produce a single cluster from all the samples, so all the data points. So this is how what agglomerative approach works, that is start with the multiple data points, then it's continuously start producing the clusters until we able to produce a single cluster. While in the case of the divisive, it is just opposite of that. So so in that case, in the divisive approach, it take all the data points as a single cluster, then it start finding the differences between them and start dividing these data points as individual clusters until it able to produce a single data points. So this is how the hierarchical clustering works. So the output that we will get from the hierarchical clustering or any clustering method, that is cluster dendrogram. So if you look at this cluster dendrogram, here at the top we will have a minimum number of the clusters. Like here, if I can show, we have only 2 clusters, but as we move from top to the bottom, we have multiple clusters. So if you look at this, here we will have a multiple clusters. So as at the top, it have minimum number of the cluster. This is how in case of a cluster dendrogram it forms. So now uh, let's demonstrate and let's go to the hands-on session for the hierarchical clustering. So let me just share one data set with you. So now we will perform hierarchical clustering on T-Banfo platform. For that, just let me share a data set with you. Just give me a second. So the data set that I have provided, that is again, I have told you that we have a data set for the cell line. So here we have again the gene expression in the rows and the samples in the column. So we have the different cell line types. That is, I have already told you that we have a data set with the having various breast cancer subtypes like non-malignant, basal, luminal, and some of unknown samples. Then we have a Claudine low sample. So we are using the same data set that we have used for the PCA in the R. So now let's move to the on the server. So let's go to the area of analysis. So just let me know once you're able to download this data set and just over to this area of on T-Banfo server. Just type your answer yes or no on if you are on T-Banfo server. Shreyas, yes, okay. So on the T-Banfo server, so on this interface again, here we are, that as I have already told you that PCA and this clustering approaches are the part of unsupervised machine learning. So under the data mining, you just go to the unsupervised analysis. So once you are there, just upload this file that I have provided you. So let me save this file as well. So if you're unable to download this data, sorry, let me just save this file. So let's upload this file. So then start, sorry, continue. So while it's getting uploaded, so in the hierarchical clustering, finally be able to produce the clusterogram. So based on the similarity between the sample, a clustering approach just use the similarity between the samples and then try to produce the clusters. So once we upload data, then we can start. So from here, we have to choose this option that is with edge cluster. So before that, I just let me tell you that the data that I have provided that we are using for the hierarchical clustering or for any machine learning algorithm, your data must be normalized. So we are using the already quantile normalized data. So it's not just a quantile normalized. First of all, those FPKM values are transformed into the log scale. Then we have from the log scale, then we have performed quantile normalization. So we are choosing here. So here you will find the different parameters. So it will ask you like linkage indicated which approach to be used when you calculating the possible distance between the points or data points belonging to the different clusters. So for example, here we have multiple options, single var d2. So here I am using this particular option. So the single indicate that there is the minimum difference between the two clusters, and complete indicate the maximum difference between the clusters. So then we have other so if you want to understand these parameters, so just go to the transcriptomics 3 course and you will understand what these parameters indicate. So for example, here let's select it, and you can select any of the parameters. Then it asking the which kind of distance metric that you want to select. So like here we have a 4 distance metric options like Euclidean, Manhattan, maximum, Canberra. So I'm selecting Euclidean. Then it is asking how many clusters that you want to separate. So as I know that in our data we have a 5 kind of samples, so you can always play, if you don't know about how many cluster you have, you can always play with these values and with these parameters. So it could be you can define with the start with the 2 cluster. I am here as I have already know that we have the 5 clusters, so that's why I'm just giving it the 5. So then it is asking whether you want to do transpose your data or not. So here, as we want our data contain the genes in the row and genes in the row and samples in the column, and I want to transpose it so that my samples get clustered, not my genes. So I'm transposing it. So otherwise it happens the otherwise. So your genes will cluster, not your samples, if you don't transpose it. So let's do it hclust. Let's run this pipeline. So just let me know how many of you able to complete your pipeline. Just while obviously it will take a few minutes to complete to complete this progress. So just let me know how many of you able to produce your pipeline. So let me just repeat the steps again. Meanwhile, you just upload your files. So once you upload, then start with it. Then just select from the clustering approach that you want to use. Here I have used hclust, and then I have selected for the linkage I have selected. So for the linkage I have selected var d2, and you can play with it yourself. So you can choose other options. Then for the distance metric, I have chosen Euclidean. Then I have also chosen the transpose. So transpose I did it true. So then I have just ended my pipeline. So how many of you able to run this pipeline? Just let me know that. Samukta. So let me Meanwhile, let me check whether my 33% is completed. So anyone else apart from Samyukta who able to complete his or her pipeline? Suresh, Renuka, that's great. So you can always play, depending upon your data set, you can always play with all those parameters. It's not that these are the fixed parameters. So because even if you have a new data, your own data, so in this data, we know that those kind of things, that we know that they are the 5 clusters, so we have selected. So you can always play with those parameters. And to get a better understanding regarding those parameters, you just go through the transcriptomics 3 course and you will get a better understanding regarding that. As my pipeline already get completed. So now let's look at the output files that we will get after running this pipeline. So let me just open first with this the PDF file. So what it representing. So if I look at this the result that I have got with the var day2. So this kind of dendrogram that I got, here we can see initially we have only 2 clusters. So if when we are going from top to the bottom and we are looking, we are getting multiple clusters. So in a maser, we have a kind of 5 clusters. This is a cluster 1 where we have luminal sample. Then we have a luminal samples. So even in the data set, luminal samples could be 2 types. So it's if you go through these cancer subtypes, so there is luminal A and B. So here we are getting the 2 different clusters for that. Then we have this cluster that is containing non-malignant sample. Then we have a basal samples, and then we have a Claudian low sample. So this is how you can this is how this hierarchical clustering or the k-mean clustering works. So it always try to find the similarity between the groups or between the data points, and try to also try to find out distance between different clusters. So if there is a distance, it will cluster them into a different cluster. So like here, it will be able to get more or less a kind of better understanding regarding our data. So like here, we are able to get 5 clusters into the different 5 groups. Although there are some of the samples that are clustered into the different groups, like here, if you look at this basal with the unknown samples. So it could be some of the samples could be wrongly clustered. So that the reason is always biological problem is that or not there is not everything is happening like 100%. It's not a 0 or 1. So there are always differences between the even the classes. So that's why these algorithms also not able to produce 100% different clusters. But more or less using this clustering, we will get a better overview how our samples are getting clustered and how they are different from each other. So every one of you able to get this result? So just let me know. Just type yes or no in the chat box. Padvantari, Renuka, that's great. So the other results here that we are getting, the first I have just opened the PDF file where we are getting dendrogram. Then we have this full table. Let's see what it contains. Then we have cell line with the label. So let's see what it contains. So this is the full table. Let's copy and check. So let's paste it in an Excel. See what we get. So here we have the complete table. So beside here is object. As I have already told you, object means in the machine learning, object means samples and feature means genes. So in the first column, we are getting object. That is how our sample. Then it giving us the cluster ID. So how our samples are clustered, like here these particular samples are clustered to the cluster 1. So it's like it producing the, if you look at this table, so here we have the cluster 1, cluster 2, 3, 4. So even from this you can get which sample is actually clustered into a which kind of suppose this particular basal sample that is at that was at the 4th position, it clustered into the first sample, right? So this is kind of the another information that we will get. And then we have another table as well, that is so then we have output with the only the first output, so that is H cluster with the final expression value. So let's copy it and see what here what we are getting. So here it's just defining the object 1, 2, 3, then into which cluster, into a plus particular cluster ID. So this kind of information you will get once you run a hierarchical clustering. Similarly, you can perform k-mean clustering. So every one of you able to produce these results by running hierarchical clustering. So just let me know. Anirudh. Okay. So anyone else who able to get these results and able to understand all these results, Suresh? That's great. So if you got all of you got results, now let's move back to our presentation. So the output that we hear in the we will get the best output, that is dendrogram. So again, I have already told you at the top we will get minimum cluster, at the bottom we will always get a maximum clusters. So then just get an let's get an overview of k-mean clustering. So the only in the case of the k-mean clustering, it is an iterative algorithm that try to partition the data set into the k predefined distinct or non-overlapping subgroups or the clusters, where each data point belongs to only one group. It tries to make it always tries to make a intra-cluster data point as similar as possible, while also keeping the cluster as a different as far as possible. So first of all, here we there are the different steps. So first we choose the number the k value, that is how many cluster that you want. So then it define the select the k random point from the data as centroid. So regarding this centroid, then it assign all the points that are closest to the cluster centroid. Suppose here the data we have already defined k is equal to 2. So then the next step, it select two data points as centroids. So then it try to find the difference between the other data points that are closest to the this particular centroid point. So then it assign all the points to the closest to the cluster centroid. So then it recompute the centroid of newly formed clusters. So again, it start producing the different clusters. Finally, the step it will continuously repeat step 3 and step 4 until it able to produce the best clusters. So this is how the k-mean clustering works, that you always first of all you define how many clusters that you want to do. Then it depending on the your predefined k, it eventually select the centroid points. Then accordingly, it just continuously reassign all the points near to those centroids. So k-mean clustering is also the similar kind of method. The only difference it have that it does not produce the results in the form of dendrogram. So what kind of result that here we will get in the case of k-mean clustering? So here only input is always the same. The only difference in case of the k-mean, we are not getting dendrogram. Instead, we are getting only those tables that I have shown you, that we know that which sample belong to which cluster ID. So it will give us output, similar output, only this, but it does not produce the dendrogram. This is the only difference between k-mean when you run your k-mean clustering on T-Info platform. Now, if you have any questions, so you can put, so we can take in the next 1 or 2 minutes, then we are close to our session. So today what we have gone through, that is first PCA. Then we have also gone through how we can perform PCA on T-Info server. Then we have also understand how we can perform PCA in the R. And then we have also gone through the hierarchical clustering, that how we can perform hierarchical clustering of our samples on T-Info server. And then we also look at the k-mean clustering, how it works. And the only difference, it is also almost a similarly you run this k-mean clustering. The only difference is the output, that the output in case of k-mean clustering, you don't get the dendrogram, you got only the table. So that's the only difference that we have. So in the next session, that's I'm asking that just complete transcriptomics 3 before the next session, and then also run this PCA plot on Codeomics Logic platform. So you can also you can also perform hierarchical clustering, that is hclust in the R as well. So we have that lesson as well. So if you want to go through, so you can go through that as well. Then in the next session, we are going to talk about supervised machine learning methods that include random forest and SVM and LDA. So in the next session, we will also talk about feature selection or the feature reduction. So, and these different supervised machine learning methods. So if you have any questions, you can ask and we can take your question. What is GG45? GG45 is a library. It is just a package. It is one of the packages that produce PCA. If you just provide PCA components, so it just produce with the autoplot function, it automatically produce PCA plots. So it's even GG45, you just, there should not be a space. It is a single, I mean, there is not space between the GG and the 45. So it is just a R package, one of the R packages. I hope, Suresh, I have addressed your question. It's clear to you now? Okay, so that's all for today's session. So we will see you in the next session. So Vipsa, if you want to add anything to it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Harpreet, for today's wonderful session. So we will see everyone again on Friday. Thank you so much for joining today's session. If you have any questions, keep posting them in the forum.